The vault. It started as a whisper, barely there, like someone humming through clenched teeth. The sound came from the vault, that massive padded runway with steel springs underneath. We were training for regionals, nerves high, everyone exhausted. The gym smelled like chalk, sweat, and old rubber, comforting in a weird, familiar way. Coach kept saying the noise was the wiring, but we all heard it, that low metallic hum, deep enough to rattle your ribs if you stood too close. I laughed it off at first. I mean, it's a vault, metal, springs. It's supposed to make noise, right? But then it started humming even when no one touched it. Late at night, sometimes when I walked past, it almost sounded like it was breathing. At first, I thought it was in my head, maybe from lack of sleep, maybe nerves. Gymnasts live in a constant state of soreness and caffeine. But one night after practice, when the lights were dim and everyone had left, I swore I heard a voice in that hum. Not words, just tone. A vibration that sank into the floor and into me. I froze halfway down the runway, staring at the vault table. It looked ordinary, still, but the air around it felt charged, like before lightning strikes. Then the light flickered once, twice, and the hum rose, higher, tighter, almost urgent. That's when I saw the chalk handprint appear on the top of the vault, fresh, white, pressed from underneath. I remember backing away, heartbeat thudding, thinking maybe someone was messing with me. But deep down I knew that wasn't a prank. The vault wasn't just metal and springs anymore. Something was inside it, and for the first time in years, the gym didn't feel like a safe place to fall. I was still in the air, spinning, except I wasn't falling. The floor below had vanished, swallowed by something dark and rippling like heat haze. I could see the vault, glowing faintly, trembling with that low, vibrating hum that pulsed in rhythm with my heartbeat. Then, impact. Except it wasn't the hard crash I braced for. It felt soft like landing in warm mud. My limbs sank, the air thick, heavy, electric. I couldn't breathe. I reached for the mat, but my hands brushed something slick, moving. Then, light, blinding, white light. I blinked, and the gym was back. The sound stopped. Everyone was staring at me, wide-eyed. Coach's whistle slipped from his mouth and clattered on the floor. "You? How did you?" he stammered. I looked up. The scoreboard timer was blinking red. The whole thing had short-circuited. I'd been in the air for nearly 6 seconds. 6 full seconds. Impossible. Even Olympians couldn't hover that long. No one spoke for a long time. Then Mia whispered, "You didn't come down." That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt the push again. Something unseen pressing against me, lifting me like invisible hands. I tried to tell myself it was adrenaline, that I'd blacked out. But then my phone buzzed at 2:11 a.m. A video from an unknown number. I opened it, shaky gym footage. Me on the runway, mid-vault. The camera caught it perfectly. I ran, hit the board, flew, then stopped midair, completely still, frozen. The frame didn't glitch. The camera kept recording, but I hung there suspended, body motionless, hair floating. 6 seconds. Then I vanished from the frame. Just gone. And in the background, beneath the static, the hum. The next day, Coach said the equipment crew found something strange inside the vault. Scratch marks, deep ones, under the padding, as if metal fingers had clawed at it from the inside. He laughed it off, told us not to panic, said the company would replace the springs. But when he turned away, I saw his hand shaking. By Monday, the hum was gone. But the chalk handprint wasn't. It was bigger now, and there were 2 of them. I tried to prove it was real. I searched through the gym's archived videos, the competition logs, even old photos tacked to the hallway corkboard. Every single one. The vault was gone. Not blurred, not replaced, erased. Like someone had edited it out of history. But I remembered. I could still feel the metal under my palms, the springboard vibrating like a heartbeat. I could still hear it. The more I searched, the louder the hum grew. It wasn't in the room anymore. It was inside me. In my teeth. In my skull. That night I broke into the gym. The moonlight through the skylights painted everything silver, too still. Dust hung in the air like it was afraid to move. I followed the sound. It was faint at first, coming from beneath the mats. I pulled them back one by one until I saw it, metal, a rectangular outline in the floor. The vault wasn't gone, it had sunk. My heart pounded so hard I thought I'd pass out. I dropped to my knees and brushed the surface, cold, wet, then movement, a soft pulse. I leaned closer and that's when it spoke. not in words, in memory. Images flooded my head, every gymnast who ever trained here. Falls, crashes, broken bones, screams. The vault had kept them, absorbed their pain, their fear, their heartbeat. Each routine feeding it more life, more hunger, and I was next. The hum roared, vibrating through the floor, shaking the walls. The metal glowed faintly from below, rippling like something alive was pressing up against it. I stumbled back, but the air thickened, dragging me closer. I screamed for help. No sound came out. The ground gave way beneath me. For a split second, I saw my reflection on the vault's surface, eyes wide, mouth open, frozen mid-fall. Then it wasn't me anymore. It was something else, staring back, smiling. I felt the pull, like gravity reversing, and then everything went white. The last thing I heard before it swallowed me whole was the hum, steady, rhythmic, almost gentle, like it was sighing in relief. And then, silence. Coach quit 2 days after it happened. Packed his office, didn't say goodbye, didn't answer anyone's calls. Mia told me she heard him muttering to himself before he left. Something about feeding it too much. They brought in a new coach from out of town, someone who didn't know the story. He rearranged the equipment, ordered new mats, repainted the walls. Fresh start, he called it. But paint can't hide memory. Every time I step through those doors, I can feel it underneath, pulsing faintly, like a second heartbeat buried under the wood. The others have moved on, or at least they pretend to. But I see the way they glance at the floor, the way they avoid the center of the gym where the vault used to be. Nobody stretches there anymore. Nobody even breathes too loud when practice ends. I tried to tell them about the dreams, but their eyes go glassy, distant, like they're hearing something else. I don't think I'm the only one dreaming now. Last night, I found chalk dust on my windowsill. Perfect handprints. One small, one large. The kind you'd leave if you were trying to pull yourself up. I brushed them away, but when I turned off the lights, I could hear it again. Soft, steady, humming through the walls. I think the vault followed me home. Or maybe, part of me never left. This morning, I looked in the mirror and saw something strange. Tiny specks of white dust along my arms, my palms rough with faint burns. My reflection lagged for half a second, almost like it was catching up. Now, sometimes when I blink, I catch flashes of that other place. The suspended moment, the white light, the frozen air. I see my teammates below me again, locked mid-motion, and I can't tell anymore which world is real. Because every time I pass by the gym now, even from the parking lot, the hum rises, sharp, clear, hungry, like it knows I'm back, and it's waiting for me to jump again. They filled the space with new floors, new beams, new paint. They even renamed it Everbright Training Center. But no one trains late anymore. They say the lights flicker around 9 p.m., and sometimes the mats move just a little, like someone invisible landed there. Mia quit gymnastics, said she still dreams of the moment I fell. Said in one dream she saw me hovering above her, smiling, my eyes glowing white. I didn't tell her I've had the same dream, only from the other side. The doctors call it trauma. They say the brain rewires itself after near-death experiences. Maybe they're right. Maybe this is all in my head. But if that's true, then why do I keep waking up with chalk under my nails? Why do my ears ring like metal vibrating? Why does my shadow sometimes move slower than I do? Every night, I stand in front of the mirror and whisper, "You're here, you're real." And every night, there's a delay before my reflection whispers it back. So I've stopped saying it, now I just listen. And when I do, I can hear it again. Faint, rhythmic, patient, like a heartbeat, like breathing, like metal remembering a name. They'll reopen the gym next month. New vault, new faces, same old space. But if you stand close enough, if you really listen, you might hear it too. The hum beneath the floor, the air pulling tighter, the invitation. Maybe I never left that night. Maybe I'm still floating. And maybe the vault didn't want to take me. Maybe it wanted company. So if you ever hear metal humming when you walk into a gym, don't jump. Soft, reflective tone. Thank you for listening to The Vault. If this story left a chill with you tonight, please like the video. It helps others find their way here. Subscribe for daily stories that stay with you long after they end. Share this one with someone who loves a good mystery. There's another story waiting for you on the screen. Go ahead, keep the lights on, and I'll see you tomorrow. The foam pit. I always thought the foam pit was heaven for gymnasts. You could fall, twist midair, land wrong, didn't matter. The foam would catch you. It was our safety net, our comfort zone. Back then, I practically lived in the gym. Regionals were coming up, and I needed the perfect routine. Every night, it was me, the uneven bars, and that pit waiting like a soft cloud of safety beneath me. Coach always said I overthought things, and he was right. Fear was my shadow. I carried it like a second skin. The place itself felt alive in a way I couldn't explain. The air thick with chalk dust, sweat, and dreams that didn't make it past the mats. The old lights buzzed overhead, flickering just enough to remind you the place was old, tired, but still watching. And the pit, it sat in the far corner under those dying lights, square and silent. Kids loved it. Adults avoided it, said it stank of mold and something else they couldn't name. Then came the noises. The janitor mentioned them first, soft shuffles when he swept nearby, a low rustle when the room was empty. We laughed it off. Rats, we said. Maybe a shoe buried too deep, shifting under the foam. But that night when I stayed late to practice my dismounts, I heard it too. Not scurrying, not random, breathing, slow, patient breathing beneath me. I froze mid-laugh, heart pounding against my ribs. The foam pit didn't move, didn't shift, but I swear the cubes shimmered like something exhaled from underneath. I told myself I was imagining things, that I was tired, that it was just foam. But as I turned to leave, one cube near the edge twitched, just once, like something adjusting its weight. I never told anyone that part, because even now, years later, I can still hear it, soft, steady, and alive, every time I close my eyes and picture falling. It's strange. We build these safe spaces to protect us. But sometimes what's waiting to catch you is what's been waiting all along. The first time it touched me, I thought it was a joke. The pit had always been warm and soft, a cushion of safety. But that night when I landed, something underneath the cubes moved back. It wasn't a bounce, it was a drag, a slow, almost curious tug at my ankle. I laughed it off. Maybe the foam shifted weird, or static made it cling. But when I tried to stand, it pulled again, harder this time, enough to make my heart punch through my chest. I kicked free and twisted to look down. The pit was calm, too calm, just rows of cubes staring up at me like pastel teeth. Still I stayed, because fear and obsession are twins, and I was born loyal to both. One more jump, I told myself. One more clean landing before I go home. I climbed up the springboard, wiped sweat from my palms, and launched. Mid-air, I felt weightless, free, but the moment I hit the pit, it wrapped around me. Not the cubes, not air, something under them. The pressure slithered around my leg, smooth and deliberate. It wasn't hurting me, it was testing me. And then it pulled. I screamed, but the foam ate the sound, swallowing every word before it could escape. My hands clawed upward, scraping against cubes that turned slick. I felt my nails tear, skin splitting, cubes sticking to my blood. And then, silence. The pull stopped. I shot upward, scrambling out, chest heaving, throat raw. When I rolled onto the mat, my right shoe was gone. My sock, drenched, not with sweat, but something colder. Coach found me sitting by the balance beam, trembling like a candle in a draft. He told me I must have panicked mid-jump, imagined it all. But when he went to check the pit, he paused. Half the cubes were missing, and in the middle, right where I landed, something dark had seeped through, staining the edges like ink bleeding from a wound. The next morning, they drained the pit. I wasn't there, but everyone talked. Said they found mold, rotted foam, a dead animal. Maybe, but Coach never looked me in the eye again. That night I went back just once to see the taped off pit, and from under the plastic I swear I saw one cube rise. Just a little, like something breathing, waiting for another fall. A week later, someone dared me to jump again. I don't know why I said yes. Pride, maybe. Stupidity. Or maybe because fear makes you curious, makes you need to know what's under the bed before you can sleep. The tape was still there, half peeled, fluttering in the stale gym air. The others crowded around, their laughter bouncing off the walls. One more time, they chanted. Do it for the video. The lights flickered, humming that sickly buzz I'd come to hate. The pit looked still, innocent even. Just foam cubes and soft pastels waiting, like nothing ever happened. I climbed the platform. My palms were sweating, my legs shaking, but I forced a grin. Watch and learn, I said. The lie tasted bitter. Then I jumped. Mid-air, everything slowed. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, thick, thunderous, alive. The lights dimmed mid-descent, pulsing with each beat. Then, impact. Except this time, the pit didn't swallow me, it caught me, then clamped down. It wasn't soft, it was alive. Something thick and cold wrapped around my calves, my thighs. The foam wasn't foam anymore, it was flesh, slick and pulsing. I kicked, twisted, felt something grip harder. The laughter stopped. I screamed, but the sound came out wet. The cubes were melting, seeping into my mouth, pressing against my eyes. I clawed for light, for air, for something real, but all I felt were hands. Too many hands. Cold, soft, trembling. They dragged me deeper. I could smell metal and rot. My body was sinking through layers of damp cubes, the air thinning, the dark pressing closer. And then, just before I blacked out, I saw it. A face. Not human, not really. Smooth, round, made entirely of foam. No mouth, no nose, just two hollow eyes shifting, watching. I tried to scream again, but the pit screamed first. A low, throaty moan from deep beneath the floor, like something had been waiting for this moment. Then a yank. My body lurched upward. Coach, his hands locked around my wrist, dragging me out. I gasped, choking, crying, coated in pink and blue sludge. When I looked down, the foam was gone. Not cubes anymore, chunks, and they were twitching, moving, breathing. They sealed the gym the next day, said it was a sanitation issue. But I saw the vans, the flashing lights, the suits, the whispers. Hazmat teams moved like ghosts between the mats, their boots squeaking on the slick floor. Coach stood off to the side, pale, his whistle gone from around his neck. No one was allowed inside, but I stayed, watching through the glass, heart pounding, skin cold. One of the officers knelt by the pit and pulled something out with tongs. It dangled, a shard of something white, smooth, bone. They whispered fast, shaking their heads. I caught a few words through the static of the intercom. Small, wrists, human. By noon, they drained it. Every cube, every drop of sludge, gone. The pit was hollow now, just a dark square cut into the gym floor, deep enough to swallow light. Then came the smell, sweet, metallic, like iron and sugar mixed. They refilled it by evening, fresh foam, bleached mats, everything spotless. But the room felt wrong. The air heavy, like the walls were holding their breath. Classes resumed the next week. Parents smiled, kids tumbled, pretending nothing had happened. But we all noticed the difference. The lights were dimmer, the echoes slower. Every landing thudded softer, like the floor had grown tired. I tried to train again. I really did. But every time I ran down the track toward the pit, I heard it, that sound. The slow, wet inhale from beneath. Coach told us to ignore it. Building noises, he said. Pipes expanding. But his hands shook when he said it, his eyes darting toward the pit. A month later, he quit. The night before he left, I saw him standing over the concrete boards they finally laid to seal the pit, his shoulders slumped, whispering into the dark. I couldn't hear all of it, but one line caught, clear and broken. Open quote, "It always wanted the ones who fell hardest." Close quote. He looked up when he noticed me, eyes wet. And for the first time, I realized maybe this wasn't the first time it had happened. Maybe that's why he never filled the pit himself, because some parts of the gym didn't belong to us anymore. Now, the pit's gone. At least that's what they tell people. The new owners gutted the place. Fresh paint, new floors, motivational posters about courage and focus. The pit was filled with turf, balance mats, bright colors. Kids laughed there again, parents clapped. The air smells like lemon cleaner and new beginnings. But every time I walk past that corner, I hear it. Breathing. Slow, wet, patient. You don't forget that kind of sound. It's the sound of something remembering you. Sometimes, late at night, when I stay back to help the younger gymnasts, the lights hum and flicker like before. And under the new mats, I swear I can hear a faint shuffle. Not movement, turning, like something rolling over in its sleep. Last week, one of the new girls landed wrong on a front tuck. She screamed before she even hit the mat. When new coach ran over, her ankle was twisted, bone peeking pale through the skin. But that wasn't the part that froze me. Her leg was wet, not from blood, something clear, sticky, clinging to her shoe, like gel, like half-melted foam. When she said she felt something holding her foot down, no one laughed. No one said rats this time. They've started closing early again. Lights off by 7. No one lingers near that corner anymore. Sometimes when I dream, I'm back there, midair, weightless, and I feel it waiting for me. Soft cubes, gentle hands wrapping around my ankles, pulling. And when I wake, I always check the floor beside my bed. Because once, just once, I saw a piece of pink foam resting there, damp, still breathing. They say foam pits are made to catch you, but maybe some catches never let go. Thank you for listening to The Foam Pit. If this story gave you chills, don't forget to like the video. It helps more people discover the channel. Subscribe for new stories every day, and share this one with someone who thinks they've heard it all. There's another story waiting for you on your screen right now. Until tomorrow, sleep light, and whatever you do, don't fall. The coach's whistle. You ever hear a sound that doesn't belong to this world? For us, it was a whistle. Sharp, clean, and unmistakable. Every morning at 6 a.m., like clockwork. I was one of the senior gymnasts at Ridgeview High. Coach Palmer was tough, the kind of man who believed pain built character and fear built winners. He'd make us run until our lungs burned, smile through torn blisters, and hold our balance until the world spun. But he got results. Our team won state 3 years in a row. Then, over winter break, he died. Heart attack in his sleep, they said. But when school resumed in January, the gym still opened at dawn. And that whistle, it still blew. At first, we thought it was the janitor, old Mr. King, maybe just sweeping early, playing with the whistle Coach always wore around his neck. But one morning, I checked. The janitor's cart was still locked up. The lights were off, yet the sound echoed clear as ever. One long blast, 3 short. The warm-up signal, Coach's old pattern. We laughed it off, told ourselves it was pipes or wind through the vents, or maybe one of us dreaming it. But every morning, that sound came. Same time, same tone. And soon after came something else. The smell, sweat, chalk, and iron. Like blood left too long in the air. No one talked about it, but I started noticing how the mats looked disturbed before we arrived. The balance beam dusted with fresh chalk, the bars smudged with handprints that weren't ours. It was as if someone or something had been practicing before us. We tried to ignore it, but deep down, we all knew something had come back to train us, and whatever it wasn't human anymore. Every morning, the whistle grew louder, more insistent, like it wasn't echoing from the gym anymore, but from inside our heads. Then the small things started. The mats were always aligned, perfectly symmetrical, even when we left them scattered the night before. Score sheets appeared neatly pinned to the corkboard, names circled, numbers rewritten, always in red ink. The first time I saw mine, I froze. 9.4, do better, Coach Palmer's handwriting. I'd seen it 100 times before, scrawled across my performance logs, my feedback sheets. The same sharp tail on the R, the same pressure that nearly tore the paper. Nobody admitted to doing it. Not the janitor, not the assistant coach, not the principal. Then came the bruises. Maya, our youngest, came in late one morning with dark marks along her throat. 5 oval spots, perfectly spaced. She said she fell off the beam. But when she turned, I saw the faint outline of a whistle chain burned into her skin. After that, no one stayed after practice. We trained fast, left faster. Still, the smell lingered, metallic, like sweat soaked in rust. Sometimes the air itself vibrated, like a breath caught between walls. And every morning, 6 a.m. sharp, 3 short blasts, even when we weren't there. One night, I decided to record it. Left my phone on the bleachers before locking up. When I played it back the next morning, the whistle came through, faint but clear. And underneath it, footsteps, slow, heavy, circling the mats. Then a voice, low and ragged, back straight, chin up, again. I dropped the phone. The next day I told everyone. Some laughed, some didn't, but none of us went near the gym that night. Still, we could all hear it. The same commands we trained under, the same whistle, the same ghost routine. We stopped showing up altogether, but that didn't stop him. The whistle followed us, through hallways, into classrooms, echoing through our dreams. It wasn't practice anymore, it was punishment. And whatever we'd left unfinished under Coach Palmer, he was determined to finish himself. That morning, I went back, alone. It was still dark outside, the kind of cold that sinks into bone and memory. The doors creaked open like they'd been waiting for me. The gym smelled stale, dust, rubber, and something coppery underneath. My breath came out white in the air. I walked to the center of the floor mat and whispered, "Coach?" The whistle answered. Not an echo, not a recording. A sharp, living sound that split the silence in half. The lights flickered on, one row at a time, stretching shadows across the walls. And there he was, Coach Palmer, or what was left of him. A dark figure pacing between the mats, shoulders twitching like a puppet with tangled strings. His tracksuit hung loose, too long in the arms, the fabric moving as if filled with smoke instead of flesh. His head tilted down, too far, too wrong, like his neck had been broken and never healed. He muttered scores as he walked, that same hoarse rasp from the recordings. 9.2, 9.3, do better. Then his shadow detached, stretching across the mats toward me, crawling like spilled ink. I froze, my throat locked. The whistle blew again, louder than I'd ever heard, a sound that didn't come from lungs but from somewhere deeper, older. My knees hit the mat. My ears rang until I couldn't hear myself scream. Something cold and invisible wrapped around my neck, forcing me up on my toes. My vision blurred, the room tilted. I clawed at nothing, my fingers raking empty air. Then came the voice, right beside my ear, wet and close. Back straight, chin up. Again, the grip tightened, the whistle shrieked. My body jerked like it was remembering old drills. My legs locked into position. My arms rose on command. I wasn't moving myself anymore. Every muscle obeyed him. For a moment, I felt light, suspended, perfect. The kind of perfection he always wanted. The kind you died for. Then the lights burst out all at once, and everything went black. I woke up in the middle of the gym, sprawled on the cold floor, surrounded by broken glass and silence. Every light above me had shattered, tiny shards glittering like frost across the mats. My throat burned raw, like something had been wrapped around it and squeezed until the world went dark. The paramedics said I'd collapsed during a solo training session. That I'd probably hyperventilated, hit my head, maybe hallucinated from lack of sleep. The cops took a quick look, asked a few questions, and left with the same shrug they give to ghost stories and teenage nerves. No one believed me when I said I wasn't alone, but the bruises didn't lie. Dark, finger-shaped marks circled my neck like a necklace I couldn't take off. And that smell, sweat, chalk, and the faint iron tang of blood, clung to me for days, no matter how many showers I took. Mia stopped coming to school, said she was transferring. The rest of the team avoided me, whispering in hallways, glancing at my neck, pretending they didn't hear the echoes when the locker room doors slammed on their own. A week later, the principal announced the gym was being renovated. New mats, new boards, fresh paint. The old whistle locked away in Coach Palmer's office drawer, sealed and labeled for sentimental value. But I knew better. They weren't renovating, they were burying it. Still, the town never stopped hearing stories. People who walked their dogs before sunrise swore they saw the lights flicker inside, just for a moment, as if someone was still training. Others claimed they heard it too, one long blast, 3 short, the warm-up signal. Sometimes when I passed by Ridgeview, I slowed down at the corner window. And for a second, I see something moving behind the frosted glass, a figure pacing between mats, hunched, mechanical, tireless. I tell myself it's the janitor or a trick of the light. But every instinct in me knows better. Because some mornings right before dawn, I still wake up gasping, the taste of metal on my tongue, to the sound of that same whistle, cutting through the dark, calling me back to practice. I thought leaving town would help, but the whistle followed me. First week at college, I woke to the sound again, faint, distant, but clear. 3 short blasts, then silence. My roommate didn't hear a thing. I told myself it was a dream. But the next morning, it came again. Same time, same pattern. It's been months since Ridgeview. I've lived in different cities, slept in hotels, even tried staying up through the night. Doesn't matter. At exactly 6 a.m., the world holds its breath, and somewhere, a whistle shrieks through the quiet. At first, I thought it was memory, trauma looping in my head, but then came the dreams, the gym floor, the cold air, the echo of footsteps pacing between the mats, and his voice, hoarse, tired, relentless. Back straight, chin up, again. Sometimes I wake up standing beside my bed, body rigid, hands chalk white. Sometimes I wake up mid-count, 3, 2, 1. I've come to realize something no one warned us about. Ghosts don't always haunt places. Some of them haunt patterns, routines, habits burned so deep into muscle and bone that even death can't shake them loose. Coach didn't come back for revenge. He came back to finish what he started. And maybe that's the worst part, because part of me still wants to obey, still wants that approval, still wants to get it right. So now I live by one rule. If you ever hear a whistle at dawn, 1 long, 3 short, don't move. Don't breathe. Don't even look toward the sound, because that's not a call to start training. It's a countdown. Thank you for listening. If you felt the chill from this story, tap the like button. It helps the channel grow and brings more eerie tales your way. Subscribe if you enjoy dark stories told with a pulse of realism, and share this one with someone who loves a good scare. There's another story waiting for you on the screen right now. Click it if you dare, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. The Locker Room Mirror. They always said the mirror in the old locker room was haunted. Every gymnast who trained after dark swore it watched them. I laughed it off. I'm not superstitious, just a perfectionist who wanted her routine flawless before the regional meet. That night, the gym was empty except for the hum of the fluorescent lights and the rhythmic squeak of my shoes against the mat. The air felt heavier than usual, like the whole place was holding its breath. You could almost hear the dust shifting on the rafters. I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, hair tied, leotard clinging with sweat, a faint bruise on my left knee. I told myself, you're in control. But as I stretched, my reflection didn't move. It lagged, then caught up, then smiled when I didn't. It was the kind of thing you brush off, until it isn't. I laughed, shook it off, told myself I was tired. But then came that low creak, the kind old wood makes when someone steps on it. Except the floor beneath me was springboard foam. I froze, listening. The locker room door was half open, just enough for the dim corridor light to spill across the mirror. And in that slice of shadow, my reflection stood straighter. Perfect posture, hands poised, head tilted. Not mirroring, but watching. I stepped closer, heart thudding, eyes darting to every imperfection in the glass. It's just old, I whispered. Just warped. But the closer I got, the more right she looked, like she was the real one, and I was the copy. Then the lights flickered, once, twice, and for the briefest moment I saw her move first. She raised her hand before I did and waved. That was when I realized maybe the others hadn't been lying after all. The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Maybe I was exhausted. Maybe it was the lighting. But when I returned that night, just to prove to myself it was nothing, the mirror seemed clearer. Too clear. The glass had been streaked with chalk and fingerprints before, but now it looked polished to perfection. I could see the faint shimmer of my pulse in my neck. The air smelled of bleach and old sweat, sharp enough to sting. I started my warm-up routine. Stretch, breathe, count. But my reflection, she was quicker, cleaner. Every movement I made was sharper, almost like she was the one teaching me. When I hesitated during a flip, the reflection didn't. It landed perfectly, chin high, proud. I laughed nervously. Show off. She didn't laugh back, just stared. I leaned closer. My reflection leaned later. Not much, but enough to feel wrong, like watching a delayed live stream of your own soul. Then came the whisper, soft, rhythmic, matching my breath. Let me help you perform. I stumbled back, but my reflection stayed put, arms relaxed, head tilted. That same small smile, the kind people wear when they know a secret about you. That's when I noticed the bruise on her left knee was gone. Mine still throbbed under the skin. I turned to grab my water bottle, and when I looked back, she was standing closer, half a step nearer to the glass. My stomach dropped. I hadn't moved. The whisper came again, closer this time, from behind the glass. Let me in. I bolted toward the exit, the metal handle slick with sweat. The lights buzzed, then popped, plunging the room into stuttering darkness. Between each flicker, her position changed, first at the far end of the mirror, then directly behind me. When the light steadied, I saw her face inches from mine. Same eyes, same lips, but colder, hungrier. She pressed her hand against the glass. I felt warmth beneath my own palm, like her heat had crossed over. Then, as suddenly as it began, everything went still. The hum of the lights returned. My reflection stood normal again. Only her leotard now had my bruise, and mine didn't. That's when I realized she wasn't mirroring me anymore. She was learning. I tried to leave. The locker room door wouldn't open. The metal latch jammed, cold and unyielding beneath my shaking hand. I pulled harder. The sound of my breath ragged against the silence. My phone flickered in my grip. Full battery a moment ago, now drained to nothing. Then, a tap. From behind. I turned. She was closer, too close. Her palms pressed flat against the mirror, or what used to be the mirror. The surface shimmered like oil on water, rippling outward with every soft thud of her hand. And then she stepped through, not shattered, not broken, just passed through, like smoke-given flesh. Same leotard, same hair, same faint scent of chalk and sweat. But her eyes, darker, deeper, more alive, like she'd been waiting for this moment longer than I'd been alive. "You perform better when I'm in control," she whispered. Her voice wasn't just heard. It echoed inside my skull, a vibration behind my teeth, a pulse through my spine. I stumbled back, tripping over my gym bag, my heels scraping the tile. "Stay away from me," I shouted, but it came out hoarse, small, like the voice of someone already half forgotten. She smiled, that same perfect, symmetrical smile I'd never mastered. "You've been practicing to be me all along." Before I could react, she reached for my arm, and when her fingers touched my skin, I felt the world invert. It wasn't pain, it was displacement, like my soul had slipped a few inches to the left. Then came the pull, slow at first, then sudden, like gravity reversed. My body hit the mirror's surface, not with a crack, but a splash. Cold surged through me. Darkness folded inward. I gasped for air, but breathed in silence instead. And through the blur, I saw her, standing on the other side now, stretching, testing my limbs, my voice, my smile. She turned toward the door, calm and graceful, and for a moment I thought I saw her wink. Then the light flickered, and I realized she wasn't trapped in the mirror. I was. I woke up to the steady beep of a heart monitor. The antiseptic smell was sharp enough to sting my throat. White ceiling, fluorescent hum, a world too clean to be real. My coach was sitting beside the bed, eyes red and glassy. When she saw me stir, her lips trembled into a smile. "You were incredible last night," she said. "You nailed every move. The crowd went crazy." I blinked. My mouth was dry. "Last night?" She nodded, clutching my hand like she was afraid I'd vanish again. "You finished your routine, took a bow, and then you collapsed. The judges gave you a standing ovation." Her words didn't make sense. I hadn't finished that routine. I remembered the mirror, the cold pull, the dark swallowing me whole. I started, but my voice cracked. "How long was I out?" "About 12 hours, she said. "The doctors think it was exhaustion, maybe dehydration. They said you just pushed too hard." I looked down at my hands. They were shaking, faint bruises blooming across my wrists, fingerprints faint and symmetrical. That night, they brought me my things, my duffel bag, my towel, my lucky hairband, still damp with sweat. Everything exactly as I'd left it, except one thing. Inside my compact mirror, the one I kept for last-minute touch-ups, there was a smudge, a single fingerprint pressed against the inside of the glass. I wiped it. It didn't fade. The nurse said I must have done it accidentally, but I hadn't opened it since before the meet. I kept staring at it, trying to remember the feel of my own reflection grabbing me. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her on the mat, me, but not me, landing each move perfectly, smiling for the cameras, bowing to the applause. They said I performed flawlessly. But the bruise on my knee was back now, darker, angrier, and in the compact mirror, behind my reflection. For just a second, I thought I saw her smile, perfectly. I went back to the gym a week later. The floor smelled like lemon disinfectant, the air colder than I remembered. They'd replaced the old mirror, brand new, spotless, wide enough to swallow the whole room. I told myself it was over. Whatever happened, it was exhaustion, stress, imagination. I needed to move on. But when I walked past that mirror for the first time, my reflection didn't follow. It blinked twice. Then it winked first. I froze. My throat went dry. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then, almost mockingly, she adjusted her hair, my hair, with a confidence I'd never worn. Since then, I've noticed things, small things. When I practice, she moves a little faster. Her spins are tighter, her balance cleaner, her smile wider. And sometimes when I land a perfect routine, I feel her inside me. The rhythm, the precision, the rush, flawless, unstoppable, like she's guiding me. But other times, when I rest between sets or catch a glimpse of the mirror from the corner of my eye, I see her watching, waiting, not helping, just smiling. They say confidence is about control. But what if control isn't yours anymore? If you ever find yourself practicing alone and your reflection looks a little too proud of you, turn away before it smiles, because once the mirror takes notice, it never lets go. If this story sent a chill down your spine, do me a favor, tap that like button. It helps this channel grow and brings more stories like this to the people who crave a good scare. Subscribe if you haven't already. We share new spine-tingling tales every night. And if you know someone who trains late, maybe at a gym or studio with mirrors, share this one with them. Thanks for listening and for keeping the lights on with me tonight. There's another story waiting for you on your screen right now. Go watch it next, and I'll see you tomorrow. The balance beam. I always stayed late after practice. The gym had this strange peace to it when everyone else was gone. Just me, the rhythmic hum of the overhead lights, and the faint scent of chalk hanging in the air like ghost dust. You could almost hear the echoes of the day's applause, still clinging to the bleachers. Coach used to say I was born on the balance beam. Said it with that proud grin of his, half encouragement, half challenge. The beam was my altar, my obsession, my quiet rebellion against the messy world outside those gym walls. That night, I stayed later than usual. It wasn't about perfection anymore. It was about redemption. I'd failed the same aerial 3 times that week, and it had been eating me alive. I just needed one clean landing before I could sleep. So I climbed onto the beam, barefoot, palms powdered white. The gym clock ticked toward midnight. My reflection in the dark window across the room looked like a stranger, focused, hungry, maybe a little unhinged. I inhaled. The silence pressed against my ears, thick and total. Then, as I leapt, the rafters above me creaked. Once, twice, perfectly timed with my landing. I froze. My breath caught. The sound came again, deliberate, patient, not the settling of old wood, not the echo of my movement. It was mimicking me. I told myself it was the pipes, the wind, the ventilation. But then I saw it, faint marks in the chalk dust along the beam, next to mine. Bare feet, small, childlike. I ran a hand along the polished wood. It was warm. Not the kind of warmth that lingers after use. No, this was fresh, pulsing warmth, as if the beam itself had a heartbeat. The gym felt smaller suddenly, like it was breathing with me, watching. That's when I realized I wasn't alone. The next evening, I came back early, too early. The sun was still bleeding out behind the gym windows, streaking the floor with long red light. My phone was in my pocket, camera already recording. I told myself it was for evidence, in case some creep was sneaking in after hours. But deep down, I think I just wanted to see it, whatever it was. The building hummed with that low electric drone that comes before a storm. The air felt heavy, metallic. Even the mats smelled different, like sweat gone sour. I climbed onto the beam. My palms were slick, the chalk refusing to stick. Focus, I whispered to myself. It's just another routine. Arms out, breath steady, 1, 2, 3, then push. The beam trembled, not from my movement, from something else. A shudder ran through it, subtle but unmistakable, like someone shifting their weight on the other end. I froze mid-turn, my muscles locked, my breath burning my throat. The gym fell into absolute silence. Then, creak from the rafters. That same deliberate rhythm as before, but heavier now, closer. The lights flickered once, twice. On the third flicker, they stayed off just long enough for me to see it. A dark outline moving with me, every motion mirrored perfectly. It wasn't a reflection, the windows were behind me. When the light snapped back, the shadow was gone. I jumped down, grabbed my phone, and hit playback with trembling fingers. Static. Just static and the sound of my own breathing. But underneath it, faint, almost drowned out, there was another breath. Hoarse, wet. The beam creaked again, this time behind me. I turned slowly, nothing. Only the faint swirl of chalk dust in the air, catching the last of the dying light. I thought I was imagining it, until I looked up. Across the wooden rafters above the beam were handprints, dozens of them. White chalk, fresh and distinct, some too small to belong to any adult. Then came the breathing again. Not through the speakers, from the ceiling. I didn't scream, I didn't move, I just listened. A low rasping inhale, like air being dragged through waterlogged lungs. That was enough for me. I dropped the phone, bolted for the exit, and didn't look back until I hit the parking lot. And even then, I could still hear it. Faint, rhythmic creaks echoing through the glass, as if the beam was still in use. The power cut out completely. One moment, the fluorescent lights buzzed above me. The next, darkness swallowed everything. A second later, the red glow of the emergency lights bled across the mats, making the entire gym look like it was submerged in blood. The air turned still, thick and wet, like it was holding its breath. The beam stood alone in the center of it all, long, pale, and humming faintly under the crimson exit sign. It almost looked alive. Then I saw it. Something was perched on it, or maybe in it. The shadows played tricks, but the shape was there, crouched low, waiting. I took a step closer. The wood creaked in answer. Another step, and a sound rose from the dark, a slow, wet drag, like soaked fabric sliding across the beam. My breath caught. Then the chalk prints appeared again, right there on the wood. 2 sets, mine and hers. But they weren't side by side this time. They were on top of each other. Her prints perfectly overlapping mine, toe for toe, heel for heel. She wanted me to balance with her. The air grew colder, my breath turning visible. The beam started to sway, just slightly at first, then violently, as if something underneath was fighting to climb out. And then with a sharp snap, something fell from the rafters above. It hit the mat beside me with a soft, sickening thud. A body, arms tangled in red ribbon, hair matted and twisted in wire. A gymnast's uniform, torn but unmistakable. Her face was blue, lips cracked, and eyes wide open, still glistening, as if she'd been staring down from those rafters for years, waiting for an audience. I stumbled backward, heart ricocheting against my ribs. "Lydia," I whispered. "Lydia." My old teammate, the one who'd fallen during competition 3 years ago, the one whose death had closed this gym for a season. Her lips twitched, then slowly, impossibly, they moved, dry, soundless, but clear. One word: stay. The beam creaked behind me, groaning under invisible weight. And in that blood-red light, I realized the truth. She never left the gym. She'd just been waiting for someone to take her place. I screamed and fell hard onto the mat, the air punching out of my lungs. My phone landed beside me, its screen cracked, the red recording light blinking like a heartbeat. The gym was shaking, or maybe it was just me. The beam had stopped moving, but the sound, the creaking rhythm kept going. It came from above now, from the ceiling. Slow, heavy, measured, creak, pause, creak. I crawled backward, eyes fixed on the beam. The chalk footprints were still there, doubled, layered, impossible. Every breath I took felt borrowed. The air stank of sweat, dust, and something else, metallic like blood warming under light. Then, just as suddenly as it started, everything went silent. I didn't sleep that night. I sat against the wall, waiting for dawn, phone clutched in my hands, recording the emptiness. Somewhere around 3 a.m., I must have drifted, because when I opened my eyes again, sunlight was slanting through the high windows, cutting across the beam like a stage light. That's when I saw them. Drag marks. They started at the base of the beam, 2 long, parallel streaks through the chalk dust, and ran all the way across the mat, disappearing into the shadow of the ceiling. I followed them with my eyes until I saw what I thought was a water stain high above. No, not water. A dark patch spreading outward, like something had been pulled up and left hanging. When the janitor came in later that morning, he found me sitting dead center on the floor, my skin cold, my hands ghost white with chalk. He tried to ask what happened, but my voice wouldn't work. They said I'd had a breakdown. The stress, the pressure, classic overtraining psychosis, they called it. They cleaned the rafters, painted over the stains, replaced the beam. But when they replayed my phone footage, the last few seconds were missing. Just static, then a faint thump, like a landing. They never found Lydia's body, and no one's been able to explain why, at night, the new beam still creaks, perfectly in rhythm with footsteps that don't belong to anyone. Now, every time I close my eyes, I feel it, that faint sway beneath my feet, the soft, rhythmic pull of the beam moving under invisible weight. It's gentle at first, almost hypnotic, like being rocked to sleep. Then it tightens, like something trying to balance with me again. I stopped training for months after that night. I told myself I'd quit gymnastics for good. But the truth? I still go back sometimes, when the world feels too loud, when I crave that quiet only an empty gym can give. I tell myself I'm just visiting, just remembering. But the beam remembers too. Every time I walk in, the chalk prints are already there, 2 fresh sets, one lighter, one heavier, both recent. And the air feels charged, thick with the scent of sweat and something else, something old. The janitor avoids that part of the floor now, says the lights flicker too much there. Says sometimes when he mops, he hears humming, a girl's voice, soft and out of tune. Last night I went in again, just to check. The moment I stepped onto the mat, I heard a dull thud behind me, and the old stereo, the one we haven't used in years, clicked on by itself. It played Lydia's final routine, the same song she used before she fell. And in that thick, stale air, I swear I felt it, the shift of balance beside me, the invisible weight climbing back up, taking its place on the beam. If you ever find yourself alone in a gym after dark, and the beam starts to move, don't look down, because sometimes the only thing holding you steady isn't you. If this story gave you chills, tap the like button. It helps more people find the channel and keeps these stories alive. Subscribe for new horrors told every night, and share this video with someone who loves a good scare. Thank you for watching. There's another story waiting for you on your screen right now. Click it if you dare. And I'll see you back here tomorrow.